Today is Tuesday, May 10, 2022, and this is an archive of Iowa Broadcasting interview with producer Cliff Brockman. I'm Paul Yeager, and today our guest is Pat Powers, the pride and joy of Duncombe, Iowa, who's a Webster City radio station legend. Are you a legend yet, Pat, do you think? You've been there so long. You've done so much.
Yeah. But thank you. Thank you for the fine compliment there, Paul. I appreciate that.
You are from the area, but yes. I don't think it was always your goal and thought process to work in radio. What was a young Pat Powers dreaming of when he was in high school?
Actually, I started my career reading school announcements at Webster City High School for about 2 years in my junior and senior year, each morning about 8:20, and again at around 3:15 in the afternoon. So I had some encouragement from one of my teachers at that time. And sure enough, I did the announcements for Webster City High School.
Just like then, you have appointed times that you were on with your announcements. So you were used to that clock.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I live by the clock there, Paul.
You do.
Just like you.
You went to Brown in Minneapolis. Was that your first? Was that the plan? That I'm going to go to Brown?
Yeah,
and
it was.
What prompted you to go there?
I decided to take up radio because at my age, I was allergic to corn dust and soybean dust. See, my father was a farmer, Paul, in Duncombe, did truck work, driving trucks and also combining and so forth. But when autumn come with the fall harvest, I was sick. I was just coughing up a storm. I thought I could not continue doing this. So I thought, well, the natural thing is to do this radio gig, which I've been doing for so long. And it's treating me very well.
Who was instrumental in your career at Brown that helped you launch?
Oh, you had to ask me that. There were so many fine people that were there at Brown Institute. Bruce Browning was one of them. Matter of fact, he was my instructor when we had to get our third-class license for broadcasting many moons ago. Of course, you don't have to worry about that anymore. But that was the time 44 years ago. You had to get a third-class license, and oh, what fun that was, and trying to study ohms and so much more that I now forgot.
Where was the first job after Brown?
Where's my first job? KQWC. And here I am since 1978 doing this. Still here after coming up 44 years this August, Paul.
I had it down that 1977, was that the year you graduated high school?
Yes, 45 years. We have our high school reunion coming up in July. And I started Brown Institute in late August of 1977. And then I graduated on June 9th of 1978, 44 years ago next month.
And what was that first job at KQWC?
I was on the air at the time. I was spinning records, doing commercials. I even worked on Sunday mornings for about 12 years. Reading news.
What was the Sunday morning programming like? All local?
It was all local. We had church programming, Salem Lutheran Hour out of Radcliffe, Iowa's country church in the southwest part of that county. Moments at Calvary from Calvary Baptist Church in Webster City. I had it was on reel to reel. Now it's on CD, disc, and then it's now emailed to us. And that program is still on since 1955. It had its start on which was then KJFJ. We changed the call letters back in 1973 to KQWC. It's a church located on Wall Street, Calvary Baptist Church. And also we had live church services, one from Eagle Grove, one from Webster City, and one from Camar, Presbyterian Church, there in Camar. So that was, I never followed up on that. We got the church services all on, no problem.
And you didn't have to go to church when you go to 5 different ones, it felt like, on a Sunday morning.
Oh, no. Yep.
Who was your
all
ownership?
Denominational. Yep.
Who was your ownership? Who hired you?
A man by the name of Glenn Olson hired me back in 1978, along with the Rich Beaver, who was the general manager at the time. I've been under about 10, 11 different general managers through the years and several owners. Matter of fact, Mary Quass was an owner at one time. That was about a good 15, 20 years ago. And of course, we later purchased by a company out in Yankton, South Dakota. And now we're owned by Fieldview Broadcasting, which is based out of just west of Des Moines. And they also own KWBG in Boone. So we have the connection with our sister station, 1590 KWBG.
For the most part, it sounds like ownership's always kind of been, even if it's from another state, it still is local. It's not
It is.
You've not been you've not been vacuumed up into the large conglomerates that are out there.
Nope. All local. And doesn't bother me at all.
What does local ownership mean to you? What does that mean to a community?
It means that we care about our community instead of some far away place. We're there for your sporting events. We have a wonderful sports guy by the name of Quinn Douglas, who started work with us this past August. Also does an excellent job when storm covered, too. We've been teaming up as of late with the storms, especially last December, Paul, when we had the derecho that came through our area, which we will never believe that we'd have a storm of that magnitude in the north central Iowa area. Tornadoes in December, but it happened. And of course, we had some severe weather activity back last March too, but he's doing an excellent job, Paul.
What does local weather coverage mean to the community? I just saw something yesterday that was discussing why it was important that a local station was on, why it interrupted and this was the TV side of interrupting my special program for some tornado watch warning on the other side of the viewing area that doesn't matter. Why does local weather coverage matter at all?
It means a lot, protecting lives, property, and telling people if there's a storm coming, you get down in that basement or sturdy shelter and have your transmitter radio handy and or transistor radio. Why does it transmitter for? Transistor radio, just to make sure that we keep you up to date on what's going on. I mean, I have great respect for the Des Moines TV stations, stations out in the eastern part of Iowa. They are dedicated to help provide people with all the information they need to know when it comes to all this.
But it's still
valuable, especially this time of year. But I mean, I get so tired of these people calling these TV stations, interrupting the ball games and cliffhangers of TV series, especially this time of year. Of course, all the networks, they have this service now that you can watch your favorite episode on the internet, so forth. But
you can stream that episode that you missed.
Stream that episode.
There you go.
Don't call the TV station. The episode's going to be there forever. Also, probably be on YouTube about 10 years, something like that.
Yeah, so you don't know who gets voted off the show that week. It's okay.
Right.
Let's keep with the weather theme, because Pat, I've always enjoyed when it comes to winter storm season that I see you may bring something to the station, because you have lived at the station when a winter storm is coming. Where did that come about? Well,
that happened a couple of years ago, Paul, because of the blizzard conditions. See, I live in Duncan, which is about 10 miles away. And there is no way in the world I would travel on Highway 20 between Duncan and Webster City at the height of a snowstorm. I stayed out here at KQWC, and I think that happened about 2 years ago. And there was a massive traffic jam on Interstate 35 in Hamilton County. People were stalled. It was a Sunday, and they couldn't get anywhere. And we were on the air. We had the sheriff office, Doug Timmons, sheriff, and also from the county engineer's office, bringing us up to date on where things stand on this situation on Interstate 35 near Ellsworth. There were stranded cars, trucks, and so forth. People did not heed the warning at that time. It was on the weekend that I recall.
But again, it's that commitment to local community that you
Yes.
have. Did any manager tell you this, or how did you come to know how important it is that there is a local voice in the height of a storm or a large news story or event in the community?
I had on good instinct to do it myself in a way, because the people that were here, they taught me local is local. And that is what matters here in this community. And I've done this for a long time and darn proud of it. It means a lot.
Let's go back to your management here, because I want to build up to a different
Okay,
part
sure.
of your career. Tell me what the station was like in 1978. How many in the news, sports, weather, sales? Is it the same size of staff, generally speaking?
We had a bigger size there, Paul. We had a sports director at one time, general manager, news director, announcer, which was myself, about 3 or 4 salespeople. And back then in 1978, Paul, we were not on 24/7. We were on the air at 6 in the morning till 10:30, 11:30 at night. And then Sunday we came on the air at 7:45 and stayed on till about 6 o'clock at night. Interesting story. I was on the air from sign on to sign off one time on a Sunday, because the person from the station never showed up. Guess who had to be on the air until sign off at 6? Little old me. Had to get all the church programming on, playing spinning records Sunday afternoon, and then left the building at 6 o'clock that night. That was about 40 years ago.
Well, that was back when you had to manually play the sources. Like there's
Yes.
an old board behind you over your right shoulder. Not too different than probably what you have today, but the big difference is automation. How has automation changed radio?
It can be your best friend. Sometimes it can be your enemy, is how I look at it. But it works out perfectly. And we have all this music. We don't have to worry about dead air or anything of that caliber. But we're on. I do my thing live, Paul, each morning, Monday through Friday, 5 until 8, and then from noon until 1, it's all live. And then I do a recording news at 5 o'clock in the evening, Monday through Fridays.
At what point did you go from announcer to news director?
1989. Of course, before that, I filled in for G.D. Warland, who was our news director at the time. So I did the news then when he was away on vacation, and also on alternate Saturdays. Also on Sundays, I did news each week.
So you had done some of those fill-ins, but and then how did it come about when you moved chairs?
It felt different. It felt different because this was a man that was here at KQWC for so long. And he worked from 1950 until 1986. And I was kind of an assistant with a fellow by the name of Jack Hudson, who is down at Oklahoma State University teaching journalism in cowboy country. So I got the nod in 1989. I've been going strong ever since doing this news thing. Still love it.
You just came from a Board of Supervisors meeting.
Yes.
I know you cover city council meetings, school boards.
Last
What's the
night
greatest source of news? I won't say background, but how do you come upon stories that are going to be on the radio?
I just cover what may be of interest to a listener about, like school lunch prices. We had that last night at the Webster City School Board meeting. But mainly last night's meeting was about all these accomplishments by these students. They had the recent production of Schoolhouse Rock Live. I'm just a Bill. Yes, I'm only a Bill. They sang that. Not necessarily was one of the songs of that genre. And they had a salute for the athletes. It was a wonderful school board meeting last night, hour and 45 minutes. Talked about all what's been happening in the classroom. And then we had our supervisors meeting this morning. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. They signed a proclamation for that, talking about road projects, which should be a lot of fun, going through from bridge to bridge and so forth in the coming months. And as you realize, we're doing this interview here, Paul. There is a major trial that's going on in Webster City, the trial of the incident that occurred in Grundy Center a year ago. And when I was at the courthouse this morning, just a packed parking lot.
If there's ever a trial moved out of Webster City and Hamilton County and it goes somewhere else, do you try to cover it? Or is that one of those things that really kind of forces you into a Gumby-like existence to be flexible all over?
Well, it's never happened in all the years I've been doing this, Paul. Never happened here. But I think we had something like that a number of years ago. I forget what it was, but this trial going on, I noticed license plates coming far away. Lynn County, Blackhawk County, and Polk County. This trial going on this weekend, which will continue likely in the middle part of next week.
The stories that you develop, how have the relationships changed with those that you're telling the story about? Superintendents come and go, city managers come and go, but a lot of times the school board, the board of supervisors, those people are community. You might be on a second, third generation. What is it like? Why is it important to you to have relationships with those types of people? And I don't mean it that you're buddy-buddy, but a cordial, professional relationship, and to be able to find out what the story is.
I have a very friendly relationship with all of them, whether it be mayor, city manager, police chief, fire chief, superintendent. I even go to hospital board meetings too. But the one thing about it, we're doing like what we're doing, Paul. It's through Zoom, and we've had Zoom meetings. And the meeting I went for the hospital board last month was the first time I was in a public meeting, and I went into the building and said, where am I? What am I doing here? Because I was doing this through Zoom for the last 2 months, or the last 2 years, but also with law enforcement. I've seen all these different police chiefs come and go, had a wonderful relationship on here. They help me out in every way, shape, and form. Same goes with the state patrol. I've seen changes in that too, though, Paul. It's been remarkable.
I suppose it does change, and cycles come and go.
I've seen so much change in this building, from equipment to people, and satellite dishes, and we're taking down satellite dishes too one of these days, because these things are just a piece of junk out here.
The relic, the museum.
The relic, yes. No, they'll be going on to some different place very soon. So,
well, if we go back to your early days of running Sunday morning church services, I'm guessing they came via cassette tape.
Yes, they did. Even the phone.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yes, we did on the phone. Oh, yeah, we did phone service. During the summer times, I had recorded the church services. Lutheran Church, because they moved up their time to like 9 o'clock in the morning. We played back at 10:30. Same thing with Asbury United Methodist in Webster City. They had their service live at 11 o'clock. And that meant I had to record the service on reel to reel from 10 to 11. I had to quickly get into the AM studio for the 11 o'clock worship service. And that was for about 3 months out of the year for that. We also had the Lutheran Hour, which was a record. Remember records? Ever heard of records? Sure you have.
I do, and they're coming back.
Yeah, they are coming back. So,
but that's how the Lutheran Hour came to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Program that's been on radio for so long.
The equipment-wise, you mentioned the changes. News gathering. What did you initially go out to gather news with? Was that cassette or was that something else?
Oh, yeah. Cassette recorder. Record the city council meetings. Use that and just make sure that we have plenty of tape in the machine. Matter of fact, I still have cassette tapes going back to the 1990s in there, in the boxes.
You've kept them?
Yes, I've kept them.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What year did you make the change? Or I'm guessing MP3 or your phone, or did you go straight from cassette to your phone?
Well, we had cassette. We also had those little mini cassettes. That's about 20 years ago. We started that. Of course, I use this bad boy now to record supervisor meetings and city council events and interviews. Aren't they handy? Aren't they handy dandy things?
And how you can
They're
send it so
amazing.
quickly. I mean, how does it, yeah, what's that like to have lived that news gathering change? That's a sea change.
Oh yeah. You said it's kind of a different change. It's amazing. It's amazing what technology does, Paul, for that. It just feels to me like we were in the Stone Age back in the 80s and 90s, doing all that reel to reel. That was back in the 60s and 70s. But goodness only knows what's going to happen in the near future when it comes to recording these meetings and such.
Do you file reports remotely?
Never have. I just come out to the radio station, put this cell phone near a microphone, and just let it play and so forth to get some of the best bits. I've never done that at this point. I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about changes in equipment. You've mentioned, I think you said, was it 9 general managers you've had?
I think I've had about 10 general managers at the station.
Okay. Did any of their focus change and you had to, or they wanted to change things and you kind of had to tap the brakes on them?
Never have. Never have done that. But it comes with the flow with the, I guess, with the person's attitude working at the station. So, but, I got along with all of them.
What's a typical day like for you now?
Typical day, you had to ask that. I'm usually up by about 1:30 in the morning at my home in Duncan, clean up, and I have to be honest about this. I listen to the BBC World Service over public radio in the morning. I mean, we have music on all night, but I sure like to know what the heck's going on in this world, because people need to know what the difference is in what's happening in the economy, the world scene, world politics, and so forth. I clean up, scan the New York Times on the internet, look at Facebook, and then make my journey to work around 2:45 in the morning. I'm here from about 3 until 3 in the morning, prepping up and all that for the 5 o'clock news hour, which we've done for a long time. And I'm here till about 3 in the afternoon, 3:30 each day, getting prepared for news, doing interviews. I'm on the air solid from 5 until 8 each morning, and from noon until 1 each day. Also, just getting interviews, so forth. That's basically the gist of my schedule each day. After I'm done at 1, I get ready to record my evening news. It's about 1 o'clock, just get that all set up, do some other things, and then out the door by around 3 o'clock or so, 2:30. Maybe I stayed until 5.
Well, and then some nights you
I
have
prepare
to,
for another meeting.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to go sometimes to meetings in the evening.
Oh yes, I do that. And one time we had just recently a Webster City School Board meeting and a Webster City City Council meeting at the same time. Webster City School Board usually meets on the second and fourth Mondays of the month, and the Webster City City Council meets on the first and third Monday of the month. And they were meeting at the same time, to be precise.
So how do you clone yourself and put yourself in 2 places?
What I did is, because the Webster City City Council is done on Facebook, get the audio off of that.
Sure.
The Webster City School Board meeting was done at their office. One time, Paul, because of COVID, we had to do the meetings through the miracle of Zoom meetings.
Do you like the technology on how that's, in the last 2 years? I mean, again, I use the word sea change. I guess if I was in my old philosophy days, they would call that a paradigm shift, maybe.
Yes, you got that right.
Has the advance of all these meetings on digital been good?
Well, at least you can sit home and in your t-shirt and shorts and watch the meeting. That's a plus. But I just got to the point of just glad to get back to these meetings. It does help on the way, help out my time.
Let's wrap up with this, Pat. I have family in Webster City, and they tell me all the time that you are at all sorts of events, not necessarily as news reporter, but you are the MC of many, many things. Why do you say yes when you're asked?
It's more like that song that was in the movie Oklahoma. I can't say no. I just am honored to do what I do each day. And it's fun to meet people, which is awesome, I think. Can I also talk a little story that happened back about 31 years ago, one of the biggest news stories we ever did for KQWC, then I'll return to that, Paul. Remember the ice storm of 19... This was the proudest moment for KQWC Radio. That day, we were on the air constantly live in the studio. Thank goodness we had a generator out here at the radio station. And thank goodness people turned to us. We had to get all these announcements on. We had the city manager for Webster City on, the mayor, city officials on to bring people up to date on where things were for the ice storm, the power outage. Power was out in Webster City for about a good 5 days. And you know what happened? It was radio that did it. Radio, the power of it right there. They had their transistors, and we entertained. We took musical requests. We even had church services. We did the best we could to get through a crisis like that. That was back in 1991. And I think all of us at this radio station that worked at the time was pretty darn proud. Now, getting back to what I do in Webster City, I mean, it's nice to do these events, read to kids, also attend sporting events and so forth. And I think we've got a dynamic sports program right now with what Quinn Douglas is doing here. I'm proud of U of I grad.
Do you find that this is something that keeps you going? And how long do you keep going in doing this?
Well, I just turned 63 in March. And I'll probably go on for a good long time doing this. And my health is good. I get along with everybody here. And it's just amazing. I thought when I was 19, I thought, what am I going to get myself into? I mean, I've talked to a former prime minister. I've talked to presidential candidates. Who else have talked with people in politics? The governors. I've talked to many of our governors through the years and so forth. But I just love what I do. It's so energizing to come here to work each day. I thought, well, what trouble can I get into today, or something like that? But I just love it.
So no plans is what I'm gathering.
No plans, not right now. Until I will probably retire when the day that Fairway, Hobby Lobby, and Chick-fil-A open on Sunday. That will happen if those places of business open on Sunday. I'm done with the Pat Powers gig on KQWC. Bye. But I don't think we're going to see those places open on Sunday. That's kind of my guesstimate. Anyway, but I'm very happy here.
You mentioned the big stories. You mentioned, the community involvement. I mean, what's a favorite? I'm not asking what was your favorite story. What's your favorite type of event or news to cover?
Oh, I would say back to school. See, well, we couldn't do it now. We can't do it now because of the COVID situation. But it was always fun to greet the kids, wave hi, and shake hands, and welcome back to school, and be at the bus scramble. Watch all those kids get off the bus and talk with them about what they did during the summer and what they expect at school. I did the same thing, Paul, with kids getting out of school. So it was end of school and back to school in the summertime, in the fall anyway.
I have kids in my house. They know the days left. I had one tell me yesterday, I think I'm done for the year. And he still has double-digit days left. So I would imagine the optimism and enthusiasm is greatly different from the first day to the last day in those kid interviews. That doesn't change over the years.
No, it don't. No, it don't. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of attitudes in kids like they were 40 years ago up to today. It's a whole different story out there. Kids' attitudes, they never had computers or cell phones back then. And we only had 3 TV channels when I was growing up back in the 1960s and 70s till cable come. Well, actually, 4 had educational television, which is now public television, and the networks ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Well,
it's a whole different story. It's a whole different world now, Paul.
Right, and I guess that opens up one last thing here is how you reach the audience is different, because those kids can listen to your reports while they're on the bus if they want to.
Oh yes.
It wasn't just played on the speakers of the bus; it's on their device.
Yes. Matter of fact, we have podcasts now.
Yeah. They take Pat Powers wherever they want to go.
Yeah, take me wherever they want to go.
All right, Pat Powers from Webster City, Iowa. I appreciate your time here today for this Archive of Iowa broadcasting interview.
Paul, it's been my pleasure. You're very special. Thanks for what you do at Iowa Public Television on Friday nights. I have to be one and only OK Henderson and Iowa Press.
Kay Henderson, another one of those that we have an interview with her. Probably need to update it now with her new job as host as Iowa Press. So.
Oh, yes.
All right, along with producer Cliff Brockman, I'm Paul Yeager. That's been Pat Powers. Thank you for watching this interview on our YouTube channel, or wherever you want to dive into another past interview. You can do so right now. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Paul.